do
Nice.
have
Thank you.
Nosfer on board. I'll say it's changed a little bit, but how you feeling, Nosfer? I know you're playing it. You're playing your next match very shortly, straight after this one. But how are you feeling against Zenaku later on?
I'm feeling good, man, but I'm more excited to be starting my career as a caster right now.
Yeah, I can see this is definitely the role for you. So if you ever want to quit playing Quake or just retire, always a spare seat for you, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, after I beat Zenaku, I'll come back here and cast all the tournament.
That sounds like the perfect plan, and I have to completely agree with that. And we will go over the picks and bans very shortly. It will be Rapha versus Effortless coming up next, and we've seen this matchup time and time again. And I'd love to know Dan's take, because I know he's going to be coming back now. Of course, Nosfer will say goodbye to him. He's going to be preparing with his matchup with Zenaku straight afterwards. And I'd love to know your thoughts coming into this, Dan, because it looks like we do have a bit of a different pick and ban here. We're meant to have Rapha versus Effortless, but assuming that maybe it's the same maps, the same bans, considering they haven't done this yet.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. All I know is that...
Welcome back, by the way.
No, thanks. Just Nosfer can't retire just yet, because I like my role as a caster. It's pretty comfortable. I don't want him to take it. But no, I mean, moving into Rapha versus Effortless, I think, this is another one where it's very hard for Effortless. I think they are roommates, right? So they have a lot of good faith between one another, but records would say that everyone's looking at Rapha and saying, how good are you going to be this time? Coming off the back of his first loss in pretty much 2 years.
Yep. That is
expecting
very true.
big things.
Yeah, no, of course. And we've seen this matchup time and time again in the Quake Pro League, and it's just been statistically the same thing again and again and again. And are we going to see any changes this time around?
No. I don't think so. I think it's another day at the office for Rapha. That's kind of what day one is for the big guns, right? We saw Razy barely even breaking a sweat, almost like falling asleep during his set. It was pushed fairly hard by Sip, but he didn't look that fast. Same with Wenger, and now Rapha. We see kind of the last of the 3 big titans turning up.
We love our map freeze, but for this one to happen, I have to say, Effortless needs to really pull something out of the bag here. But he's in high spirits. We spoke to him earlier. He seems to be revving to go to try and make something happen here. But, against the likes of Rapha, he probably saw the back and thought, why me? Why is it always me every time? But, could see something different here. We'll have to find out. We'll get the picks and bans very shortly for you guys at home to find out exactly what champions and maps are going to be played out throughout this entirety of the best of 3. And just to let everyone know at home, of course, the first couple of the winners bracket rounds are best of 3s. But we do move on to the best of 5s at the later stages at winners round 3, and I think it's losers round 6 as well.
I'm going to trust you on that one.
Oh, cheers.
I'm just going to trust you.
I don't trust myself, so I could have just made that up.
I mean, it means I can blame you when you're wrong, but that's about it,
Yeah, that's quite true.
Otherwise, you can check the bracket for the real information if you go to the Maestro Twitter. That's about the extent of my knowledge right now.
That is true, yeah. And, I could be lying. I could just be full of it. It could be one of those things. But
just change here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows what's going on? Where are we?
Where am I right now? Am I at home?
I don't know, mate. Are you?
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, no, you're next to me, so yeah, it does make a nice change. I'm not at home, so it's all good. I'm pretty sure I'm not anyway. But let's have a look at the picks and bans, surely now.
No,
okay,
we're not going to look at the picks and bans.
I just want the maps, mate.
You need to calm down.
You need to calm
down. I know, but you have to wait your turn.
I'm not a patient
You're
man
British.
Here,
you should be used to queuing. We just have to take our time. We have to enjoy this. We're back together. We should enjoy the fact that we're just talking in reality. We don't have to rush it.
That's true. Yeah,
I think Effortless is probably taking longer than picks and bans. We're kind of delaying the inevitable at this point.
Well, this is it.
That's why I'm going to lay on his door. I'm just going to shift the blame.
Shift the blame. I don't blame you at all. But yeah, it's like I said. Going back to it statistically, yeah, it could be the same thing, same outcome. Pretty much the same situation, just a different environment this time round. And yeah, Rapha, again, he seemed a tad bit uncomfortable yesterday, but then again, he didn't really play too much yesterday either, did he? We know he had a few maps against Avik. I think Avik actually did take one. I can't remember which one it was entirely. I want to say XR or something else quite small, but I can't remember from the top of my head. But yeah, I think now that it's tournament day and now it's time for him to really get the gears going, you could, so to speak, get him twirling, then try and find out exactly how he feels going into this matchup and then progressing from there. And the winner of this matchup, it depends on the circumstance of how things are going to go. I was just trying to think from the last one, because of course the winner of this will have to play against the winner of Nosfer and Zenaku as well, which is definitely going to be a hard task in itself.
Yeah, and we've seen Zenecu take maps off Rapha in the past. I think we've seen Nosfer push Rapha to the limit, and like we spoke about a lot, this is just a new environment for all the players. We're no longer online. We're no longer got multiple different pings to compare with. And to your point, like Rapha, yeah, definitely wasn't looking comfortable yesterday. He was going to. I mean, he was losing maps against Avik, as you said. He lost, Exile, and he lost Awoken. So we have to see what kind of Rapha turns up. He's a little bit temperamental, but he always does end up growing into the tournament. So let's have a look at the picks and bans now, as they should finally be ready. And we can actually look at what Rapha has got at his disposal. So he's picked up Vale. We know from history that's his favorite map. We also know from history he likes to lose that map. Yep. I don't think he's going to be losing this one, but he's gone with the Scale, which is the safe bet there. I really do like the Sorlag encounter to that. Unlike the Keel, the Sorlag gives you that fast utility to play around, but Scale Bearer can obviously match that as well. So that's going to be a lot of conflict. We're then moving on to Deep Embrace, and I mean, Effortless picks up the ice, and again, it's good. It's just not great in my mind. And then the response from the Ranger is perfect. We saw it earlier from Wenger. You can play so fast with the Ranger, and that's what Rapha loves to do. And then we get to Ruins. If we get to Ruins, we have the Slash against the Anarchy. Speed versus speed. So I do like the Anarchy encounter to the Slash, but again, Rapha's Slash is still Rapha's Slash.
It certainly is, and you know, the possibility of the fact we may not see him at number 3, an Anarchy versus a Slash matchup will be explosive. It's definitely something we would love to see if it does get that far. And you're so right. You hit the nail on the head there with that Vale pick there from Rapha. It's strange how, again, in terms of his win-loss on Vale, it's probably the worst out of all his other maps combined. But yeah, he still loves it. Absolutely loves a bit of Vale.
He's convinced. The thing with the Vale is, like, he convinced he plays it best. And if you think theoretically, you know, like the rotation, the maps, the positioning, all of that, he's probably right. But what I guess he doesn't account for is how the opponent can cause more chaos on Vale relative to other maps. There's a lot more choke points. There's a lot more traps. There's random angles you can pick up damage from. And like, I'm just thinking back to obviously that iconic Maxter versus Rapha game where he just ran at him. He just engaged him in rocket fights up on the high ground. Even if you lay up the perfect trap up there, if your opponent pops through the TP and you don't hit as much damage and they hit you, there's nowhere to go. You're going to die. And so those circumstances are more common on Vale. And that's why, if anything, this could actually favor Effortless. If he can get into Rapha's face with a Sorlag, he can play that speed game and trade frags and not let Rapha get into a rhythm. Why can't he take him out?
Yep, there's no reason to. I think we know from Effortless's background, he is very, very aggressive. There is moments where he does tend to overextend a tad on the odd occasion, but you know, in this circumstance, you need to really just give you it all here. Even if, you know, you do become a little bit too over-aggressive, it's better being passive and just giving Rapha full map control, which of course he's going to be looking for very, very early on here. We're going to be starting things off here with our second to last series of today. Again, it will be a best of 3 starting off on Vale, and I must say, Dan, we've started off with a lot of Vale here today, and we just can't get enough of it at all. With the Scale versus Sorlag, and Scale can be very strong in this matchup.
Fight.
Yeah, I think it's probably the strongest pick of Pnath when played right. It's definitely a way to play it wrong, but nevertheless, it is a lot easier to execute. You're just big, tanky, you have a full rush, plenty of corridors. Here's one of them, and that's what happens. You can close the gap, you can do some damage, you can explode your opponent.
Unlike me here, Dan, Rapha had a lot of patience waiting for that exact moment to use that bull rush in order to take down Effortless. Stacks are equal, of course. 30 seconds of realises that he is on top Mega. Just gonna let him get away with that though. He hasn't heavily delayed it at all, just decides to pick it up straight away. Misses the first rail, and Effortless does the exact same. So now Rapha managed to pick up the high ground. Let's see where he could be coming from. Actually, he goes on that light jump pad. Push around. The LG is coming from both players. Both quite similar step. Effortless gets a slight advantage there with that LG fight.
Does indeed catch Rapha for a little bit of odds in terms of what he wanted to do, so he has to retreat towards this heavy area. Effortless is still over by the Mega. A bit late for the heavy, gets away, now Rapha will push on through just to do at least some damage over to Effortless. Big opening rocket and a second. 129 in total, and through the grate. Stuff to play.
Trying to add a little bit more in terms of the damage infliction, but Effortless, oh, actually some good rockets there, but doesn't change the circumstances, as now Rapha's now 3-0, just trying to recover from that last engagement. It's going to be pushing back on up, as the Mega was picked up quite a while ago. The items are heavily segregated, which now is going to give room for Rapha now to take full control. And it all depends on how well Effortless can just pick Rapha apart. Just get a few rails in there, just enough chip damage. But actually, I was going to say not the best of starts, but that's more than enough damage to try and deal with it. But the problem is he still picks up the Mega, but the lack of armor is going to help Effortless, not now, but in the long run.
But what Rapha is so good at, that's just a perfect example, is knowing exactly when to push out and use his stack as a resource. Because now, look, he's gone out, he's taken both major items, and he's taken all of the lights. Because what he's doing, he's getting that big stack, he's rushing in. Yes, he's taking a lot of damage, but look, he's now regrouping. He's going to pick up the health, he's going to pick up the Mega, he's going to pick up the light. Effortless has one light to play with on the map at this moment, because Rapha is playing it to perfection.
So, that rocket damage earlier is just going to make the situation nowhere near as good as Effortless would like it to be. Already 6-0, it's only been 2.5 minutes, and Rapha's definitely come here to play. Of course, it's the first time we've seen him in a studio environment in a very long time. It's nice to see him back again. Continue to do the damage, and will he be able to take it? No, he does not. Effortless managed to win that little scuffle. 3 minutes have already passed it, but that's what pays Rapha one bit. But good thing from Effortless to contest that rocket, make the assumption that he's going to do something a little bit predictable, which you got away with.
Did indeed, already got 2 strikes up on the board. Rapha's going to come running in again. Actually, was running into Effortless, didn't take the spit. Oh, he did take the spit, didn't see it pop up. So it does take a little bit of damage from the tick, but not enough. Effortless should be able to walk away with this heavy nice and clean. And he's also spotted Rapha down there in the courtyard. Catches him out, the rush comes out, and he gets retracted by the rocket. And Effortless' comeback is looking more and more real by the second. Doesn't have a rail though, and that he could have punished Rapha off the spawn.
Just a little bit of a shame. But Effortless though is looking very solid. He said though that rail is never going to hurt him unless he rains down with rockets, but decides that Rapha has got it away, but still Effortless just prioritising the item, still leaving the rail, deciding just to continue with the aggression and just really try and make Rapha feel uncomfortable here. Rapha though does find a little bit of damage here and there, but it's going to start piling up though as the force comes in. Good rocket as well, goes straight past him, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the situation at all as Rapha does extend his lead.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I felt Effortless should have used that opportunity to get the rail, but in not doing so, it forced him to take that messier fight. So that was a little bit of a mistake, and Rapha has now got back to a 4-rank lead here. Big rockets coming out as well. Effortless has pinned him to the wall, but a couple of big rockets. Rapha's still quite weak, but not weak enough, and Effortless gets the spawn at the other side of the map, and what a flick rocket! It's not something we say every day.
It certainly is, and that's a beautiful timing there to give Rapha a good start on that last bout. Away for now, just going to try to find any kind of info on Effortless, but of course finds him dropping down to contest those rockets. Indeed, the halfway stage here. Effortless showed some good signs of life at one stage here, but he can't let this escalate too quickly now. He picks up the heavy, so that will give him a bit more time to stabilise, and also with the Mega coming up next, that's when, with the next fight, even though he's got a huge stack, it still means he needs to get a lot of value against Rapha.
Yeah, but what was a promising comeback has now turned into an equally big deficit as we're back to 9-3. But you've seen what can happen if Effortless does pick up that frag. He can convert it into control. But now Rapha seems to have slowed the pace down. You can see him playing the pillars, playing the angles, but nevertheless, Effortless comes out with some big rockets. He swaps to the rail though. That's the one weapon he needed to hit with directly, and he does not do so.
Oh, beautiful stuff again from Rapha,
nice.
And just the rail just to put him to bed pretty much. And now, just over 4 minutes, oh, even then the direct straight afterwards. Effortless is just not getting a break at the moment, but does hit that last round. The only problem is, he knows that he's going to be dropping down for that health bubble at the bottom, and Effortless just stood his ground, just waiting for him to drop down.
Yeah, just trying to do some sort of damage before he died. He knew it was the inevitable, and now he's also got a lot of frags to play with, and so can just... He has a multitude of different choices here. He can go aggressive, he can sacrifice his body, like just doing damage, and this is where it becomes really hard for Effortless to continue the momentum of a comeback.
Certainly does. Rapha now just picking up all the items, still segregated, still waiting to go for that heavy, going for it early, just like Effortless is at the moment. Decides to use the ball rush just to do a little bit of his own ring around the rosy there as Heavy's up in the next couple of seconds, and Rapha knows that he's going to try and time it just right, but Effortless is one who gets there, mistimed it just by barely half to a second. And now still trying to use these defensive rockets just to keep himself in this fight, but in the end, Rapha does manage to survive.
Does indeed. He's not entirely healthy for a heavy champion, but he's healthy enough to still fight. He's also got the bull rush to attack, retreat, do whatever he needs to do. Decides on the latter option. He's trying to skirt himself away and open up a rail angle. Effortless just isn't able to do any damage at this point.
Certainly does.
Nice read.
Again, Effortless trying to make something of this, but even with the bigger stack, he's just riding that one-way struggle bus. Is now misses the rail, but Rapha needs to hit these in order to keep himself alive. Some of his ammo management looking very solid already, just continuing to pick up these hourglasses just to make sure to have that bull rush in his backpack. But 2.5 minutes left though, 7 frags against someone like Rapha. It's pretty damn tough here, Dan.
Yeah, bordering on impossible as the clock is ticking away. Just about to hit that 2 minutes to go mark, and Rapha is in absolutely zero rush to make a move. Can just play the item. Doesn't even need to own both of them at this point. But he looks like he probably will. Effortless has the maximum stack as well, in terms of at least the health. Needs the heavy, but not at the risk of his life. He's just going to forfeit it to Rapha.
Oh, no,
And he doesn't do any damage either, so that's huge. As Rapha hits great rockets from the low ground. He's going to even try to retreat to hit Effortless, which he does. And here comes the bull rush to finish off the lizard. The bull reigns supreme.
Yes, I might add another one here, which he does 13-4. Took a little bit of time, but looks like Rapha's got full map control, stabilising beautifully at the moment. Seems to be a similar situation to what we see normally in the Quake Pro League, just replicas so far. Good rail, though, managed to dive in, pick up that Mega, actually managed to sneak away and be able to steal that. And now Rapha still keeping Effortless on his toes here.
He's just being aggressive. He's just cutting off all resource angles and just forcing Effortless to play passive when he's the one that needs to make a move. 1 minute to go, once again, it is obviously game over. I felt Effortless put a really strong mid-game up. Had that comeback on the verge of a comeback in the earlier stages, but Rapha very quickly shut that down and showed us why he does like this map so much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you see these rockets from Rapha, defensive, predictive, or some of his aggressive rockets. He's hit so many directs this game, and Effortless must be frustrated to a certain degree, surely. Just thinking, why me, like on a number of times here, just waiting for the drop 4 that light, but yeah, it's just a matter of time. Finds him anyway. Some star points there from Rapha, I like it.
That might be a first that I've seen that before.
I think so
Quake
too.
Pro League just flattened him from above. 16-4. I think slightly flattering to Rapha, but it was a commanding performance.
It certainly was. 10 seconds left. He managed to add one more. It will be 17-4 in standard Rapha fashion, especially in this matchup here. So just doing what he does best, is pretty much treating it like it's playground with Vale and Effortless. I do agree with what you said. You know, at the start he did show some life and was able to really get something going on the board when he was, I think, like 5-0 down. At some point he was up 6, and then he was still behind like 6-3. But after then, though, you could see that Rapha was reading him really well, was predicting exactly where he was going to go in terms of routes, and then that was literally about it.
Exactly. Had all of the reads, he had the timing. And I think if we look in context, at least on map 1, out of all of the top dogs, if you will, the higher ranked players in this event, I think that was by far the most comfortable performance we've seen from start to finish, mechanically, tactfully. As we said, there was a moment, a blip, where Effortless was forging a comeback, but there on out, as soon as Rapha had control, he just took the map away. And again, there was not much that Effortless could really do at that point. Rapha was meeting him blow for blow, cutting off the angles, and he just uses all the resources.
And we expect this in this kind of matchup as well. We know with winners round 1, it can be like a tall order for a lot of these players and their opponents as well. And the problem is for them is the fact that, you know, is there going to be an upset? It's a question mark for most of these matches, at least 6 out of 8, and we haven't really seen that today. So we'll go to Deep Embrace straight after. I must say, it's just been all Vale and Deep Embrace, hasn't it, so far? We've seen a little bit of ruins here and there.
Sporadic ruins, sporadic Kiwi, yeah, there's a lot of Deep and a lot of Vale. For whatever reason it is, there's a lot of action. I'm not going to complain. We do see the Ison. Again, I'm just questioning it somewhat. Like, it has utility, but the lack of maneuverability is just a key aspect of this for me. So we'll see how that plays out for Effortless.
Yeah, you know, we've seen it's been very, very hit and miss. We saw it a couple of times in the past where it's not really worked in the player's favour, but depending on what he's going to do. But surely you're just going to go with the range, aren't you, straight away? Like, you know, no holds barred. Of course, you're just going to go for that straight away. But we'll have to see what he can do, see if he's got something up his sleeve to maybe deal with Timmy the Turret and see if he can find any way to try and contest these items with the Turret, even especially like around heavy area. Maybe even Mega, depending on where he actually places it. But of course, you know, there's a lot of shenanigans which Rapha's probably going to expect at this point.
Yeah, more than comfortable, more than happy with that. But I don't think he's just going to abuse the speed, abuse the burst potential from the orb. Well, and if he's hitting as hard as he was in the previous map, there's nothing Effortless can do except try and hit just as hard.
3, 2.
Exactly, we're going to go into the second map now between Rapha and Effortless to see what more Effortless can bring to the table here in this matchup. And to see what he does with the Eisen as well, because it's an unusual matchup, not with the Ranger, but of course with the Eisen in general. And Rapha's already standing tall there, top mid, knowing that there's no way he can go through. I think he had a different little game plan there, of course, to try and throw Rapha off, but yeah, it just didn't happen at all, and already it looks like Rapha should be able to take this, depending on if he sits around. That's not going to happen. Rapha just cleans him up with a shotty.
Nice and easy. Got plenty of time to get across to whichever major item he chooses. Effortless is struggling to get off of the rail area at this point, just bouncing around. Now Rapha's got his prey trapped, he's trying to run away. Can't hit any rails at this point, can't buy a rail. Rapha says, alright, I've done my due diligence, you take the Mega, I'll take the Heavy.
Yeah, nice little agreement there. It's now Rapha. Still the lead, only a minute has passed as he's trying to get some of his rails onto Effortless, which hasn't found as of yet. Still misses the third one as well, which is a bit uncharacteristic of him. Now just pushing on forward now to see if he can... I think the main thing is now that he's keeping Effortless on his toes. Hasn't hit anything as of yet. We would have thought it would have at least hit one by now. But again, just holding top mid, that's all we need to do. Just showing that map presence, showing that map dominance. Both items have up. I've been up for a little bit of time here, and it's a matter of who's going to go for what and where.
Yeah, but this is the problem with the ice. Effortless has no way of actually getting to the item safely, so he has to outmaneuver Rapha and try and play around it. Rapha was obviously just tracking his prey, showing his dominance, because at this point in time, Effortless can't even get onto the high ground safely because Rapha just cutting off all of the angles. There comes the turret. Rapha's just going to dodge away and try and destroy it from a distance, and that does force some respect out. But there we go, Effortless bounces straight into the trap of Rapha, but somehow converts.
Okay, so he does tie things up here, and literally just going straight in on him at the moment. The rail's not going to help, but Rapha does finish him off with the machine gun anyway. And I like that from Effortless. He did get the Mega Spawn, but it's just delaying it for now. If he does win his next engagement and pick up the Mega, then Effortless is going to be in a very good spot.
Yeah, he will. He's got Rapha quite weak. Spotted him as well, just waiting up top. He's got plenty of time to buy out for this Heavy. Probably even time to get across and get back in time. So could be the perfect decision, but shouldn't really let this Heavy go for free considering how low Rapha was, and he will. So that's a little bit of a blunder from Effortless and a big lifeline from Rapha, because if he hits this next rail, which he does unfortunately for Effortless, he's actually more than well back into this game. He's got back onto the high ground as well, so here comes Effortless barreling on through. Rapha doesn't got the LG either. Effortless knows that.
And there we go, still trying to clean them up, but it's going to be Rapha with the rail in the end. But the problem was earlier on, even though he left the Mega for quite a long time, he couldn't push in and go for Rapha and kill him, because if he did and he pushed on in, then the problem is the fact that he's going to spawn Rapha onto that Mega earlier on. So he knew why he couldn't push and just had to literally hope that Rapha would just push out somehow, some way.
Rapha just orbed across to steal away the only health for Effortless, leaving him with nothing. The rail comes out, but what does it matter when Rapha has the resources to fall back on? And this is the challenge. Rapha is the master of controlling all resources, not just the major ones.
Yeah, he's a bit of a bully, isn't he, Dan?
He's a little bit. It's greedy, if anything.
Yeah, but just a tad. Now, still that 4-1 hits the first rail, and this is what we need to see from Rapha, especially in the later stages in this tournament. Does try and have a little bit of a peek through that murder hole. As he drops down now, finds him straight away, comes up with the LG, but cleans him up quite nicely, and also takes down the turret as well. And this is what we were talking about, how Some of these players can try and utilize this to turn it on. Some of these maps, you know, we normally expect the Ison quite a lot, especially on Ruins or for the top head, was it Vale as well. But even then, though, like we've seen it on completely different maps than what we expect. But we have seen it at the Ison a couple of times on Vale before.
We have, but it takes a strong game plan and a strong positional sense to execute. And so far, Effortless is doing a good enough job for it. He's slowing down the pace of the game, which I thought he would struggle with, but he is beginning to struggle. The lack of resources is killing him, and that's born out of the fact that he just, in part anyway, doesn't have the maneuverability, as we discussed, to get them, because he doesn't have the speed or utility to control the high ground as much as he needs.
And we're starting to notice that more and more as
there's
this
that delay as well.
Yeah, now this is where Rapha can shine even further.
He's more than confident now to be able to rotate both major items. Setting that delay means he's now got 10 seconds to bully Effortless, make sure he's too weak to commit for the major items, and then he can just rotate both.
Certainly could. The time it comes down. Not going to use it a bit as of yet, but Rapha knows Effortless is pretty weak and going to be prioritising the heavy. Now going to try and get to the mega. He knows that Effortless is most probably going to go for it, and this is a great flank here from Rapha, just making sure not to make the assumption that Effortless is going to think that he's going to go top mid. Goes round to the shoddy area straight away and then does catch Effortless off guard. And now Rapha is still pretty weak, but managed to recover quite quickly. Knows that Effortless directly above him just to try and keep him away with the LG. Could rail him if he wants to, but decides to back away.
Yeah, and Effortless has done a good job of not only keeping Rapha weak, but also, once again, stabilising and getting the items on the same time. That's also now won him another mega. Each one of these pickups keeps him in the game.
Certainly does, and it's just dishing the dirt here with the LG. 8-1 now, hits the first initial spawn rail also. And looking for a little bit more. Does a sprinkle of damage again with that last rocket, but needs a little bit more on that as Effortless trying to figure a way out if he can. It's just not going to happen here. Dan doesn't get away. Give me another frag to Rapha's name and just waiting for the next heavy.
And this is obviously a very different type of deep embrace. It's not as full frontal aggression that we normally see, particularly when a range is in the equation. However, what it is just clinical. This is a surgical performance from Rapha where he's doing what he needs to do, slow and steady every step of the way. I don't think he knows how he doesn't get that frag, but it's, again, he's just forced himself a 7 frag lead. He's controlled most of the items the whole time, and there's the burst potential already off the back of the spawn. Gets back into the game, gets back onto the items.
I do agree, though, he is dissecting the map perfectly here. Now looking to try and get the flank around, realises that the rail's gone. Be picking up the next one. Heavy's not for another 20 seconds. Both on similar stacks, but Rapha now isn't going to be on the high ground anymore. Has dropped, waiting for Effortless to make his first move. Does do a fair amount with the LG, looking to try and do a bit more, but Effortless, after that first initial rail from him, was able to easily take that engagement, but still got 7 more to find in 2.5 minutes. Again, it's looking very dire for Effortless.
It is. Rapha's not giving him an inch, but he's able to take more than that when he needs it. He's allowing Effortless to have control of these items. He's kind of forfeited that to some degree, just respecting what Effortless has been doing to get them, but Effortless doesn't then have any capability to get back into the game.
Certainly not, and just like that, he's got top mid once again. There's Effortless now. Okay, I think I don't know what he was playing at then, but he drops down anyway. Still actually somehow takes him down, which is just unheard of. And now Rapha's on spawn, picks up the LG, goes for the light and going straight in for the kill. And Effortless does back away, but how long for? Picks up the 2 health bubbles. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Left on 26 HP. Has the mega. There's a little Prezi for him to pick up just to try and finalise things. Goes up top mid, going to try and clean up with the shotgun. Doesn't happen. Effortless managed to bag his 5th.
Does indeed. 6 frags the difference. What it does, it feels more than that. So Effortless,
yeah, I was going to say, yeah,
keeping it respectable. And one of the factors is he's forced Rapha to adapt to a slower pace. Ison, for me, it doesn't feel like it's had enough to validate it as a first pick. You know, particularly when Ranger was still available at that point.
Rapha does back away once again. Effortless is top mid for now, but yeah, a minute 10, 6 frags. Effortless needs to play out of his mind right now and barely take any damage. But against someone like Rapha, yeah, it's not going to happen here, but will he be able to take it down? Yes, he does, so that's going to pretty much confirm it already. Got a minute left remaining, but it looks like it is going to be a 2-0 sweep here for Rapha.
I enjoyed that set. I thought it was well fought throughout, and whilst the score lines on both maps are fairly large, Effortless forced Rapha to play at a very high level, and this is why this particular map was very clinical, and the first map as well. It was a lot closer than it would have seemed. So, got to give kudos to Effortless. I hope he can actually do a good lower bracket run. I still feel that from everyone we've seen, Rapha across the board so far has looked the strongest. Just in terms of the way he's playing, it does look at just a higher level as when we last saw him. So that's scary for the rest of the bracket.
I think we're going to see a lot of upsets in the losers bracket. From what we've seen so far from a lot of the opponents already dropped down from the losers, I think we're going to see a lot of different outcomes, really, considering the circumstances here. And it wouldn't surprise us at all when we do go into it. And of course, make sure you head over to Maestro Live, where we do have the second stream there with all the loser bracket matches as you see fit. You find out exactly what on earth's going on the loser side as well, because we are sticking with the winner side at the moment. It is going to be a 2-0 victory for Rapha. And that does mean, even after that 2-0, he's still got one more series left remaining here, Dan.
We do indeed, and that is the big belter to finish the day. We've seen some of the superstars of the scene come out so far, but we're going to end the day on what is probably going to be the most close contested of the lot in Nosfer versus Zenecu. But no, I've got to give a shout out to Rapha there. I thought he played a magnificent series. I thought Effortless put up a great fight, and that forced Rapha to play at the level he did. But he did take it in convincing fashion and will be moving on to meet one of the two that we just saw, and then he'll meet either Razy or CNZ. And so this is a brutal looking bracket, and we're only just finishing day one.
The fact that round two looks like this is just...
It's absurd, right?
It is a bit absurd, mate. It is. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, coming into it now, tomorrow is just going to be an absolute field day. But like you said before, you know, we've still got one more match, still got Nosfer versus Zenecu. And it's going to be fantastic to see exactly the outcome of that one, because that should be, on paper, that should be a map 3. And between them two, they've got, you know, different styles. We've seen, like, Zenecu, of course, you know, after each stage, he's been getting a little bit better each time, adapting a little bit better across the board, and it's putting a huge amount of effort in.
I think that last point is key. He's just a workhorse. He's somebody, no matter what time you log on, he's generally playing. Like I mean, I've been here all the time, and he's been here probably more than me somehow. Like, I don't know if he's got some keys or something, because he's always here, he's always playing, and he puts in effort, and he just loves the game. Like he's got strong on his arm. Like he's built for Quake, so it's amazing to see. And he's going against someone that's got that Brazilian flair. You just saw him on camera. He's going to be a great caster once he's knocked out, apparently. So I believe that, because he's got full of skill, and I'm really, really excited to see his next series.
I really am too. No, it should be an exciting way to finish off the day, of course. And yeah, you're right though, like Zenecu's been training a lot. They've both been here all day waiting to play this matchup and getting ready. They've been warm for quite a while so far. So I'm hoping for, you know, anyway, we're going to see a fair amount of aim skill come out for Nosfer. That's what the flair he brings, you know, that kind of LATAM aim skill, which they're all known for, especially in the esports scene. And we're going to see a little bit more of that, of course. But for Zenecu, it's all about being able to control that kind of aggression from him.
Absolutely. So again, it's like many of the series today, very much a clash of styles, as you say. Methodical Zenecu against flair of Nosfer. But saying that, before we get to that, we're actually going to speak to the winner we just saw.